Welcome, Internet Capitalist. Today we're filming from a new location, Charlotte, North Carolina, CLT. CLT, the Queen City. The Queen City named after Queen Charlotte. Mint City, also known as Mint City, because the first mint outside Philadelphia was here during the gold rush times. And General Cornwallis called this the Hornet City from back in the Revolutionary War. But right now, it is the financial capital of the New South. Charlotte, North Carolina. We're here, Benjo. How are you doing this morning?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's interesting to be in the land of banks as crypto is turbo giga pumping. So it feels good.
Very good, very good. You know, it's like a more genteel version of New York City.
Indeed.
BlackRock is not here yet, but everybody else is.
Yep. I agree with that. I think a lot of potential here for, maybe future crypto capital. Probably not. Maybe overtake banks.
Overtake the banks. That's right. Well, maybe crypto and banking is going to merge given what's happening in Washington, D.C., a few hundred miles to our north.
We'll see.
Yes.
We'll see. It is possible. But on that note, we have the chart up here already, and Bitcoin over 100K firmly. So we haven't talked about that yet.
We have not talked about that yet?
Not on the show.
Holy
it's like
cow.
within the last week.
So, as the old guy on the show, I'm like, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And you basically told me it's a psychological thing that we need to break through 100 because people put a lot of, I guess, sell orders at 100,000. We need to break through all that stuff. And we did.
It's just a round number. You're trading. It's a good place to put stops. But you broke through it. So now it trades pretty normally. Like the initial breakthrough is what you see. And we had an initial sell off right after. Like we traded up to about 104,000 in the immediate time after the 100K break, and then we nuked. It was like a $92,000 Bitcoin. It was an $11,000 price range on that day that we broke the all-time high, traded to 104, and that happened. Traded back up, and now market looks pretty normal. So
yeah, very good. And one thing that you told me was going to happen, that's starting to happen, is the macro narrative in crypto is starting to move a little bit from Bitcoin to the alts, to ETH.
Yeah.
And some of these we'll talk about more. I think the term that the young people use is face ripping, turbo mooning.
Face melting.
Yes,
alt
that
season.
one. Yes, I've heard of
on Twitter.
On the CT. That's what the cool kids call it.
That is what it's called. CT.
Yes,
crypto
CT.
Twitter. Yeah, it's interesting. So there's a few narratives that we're going to talk about here that are really gaining traction. One is definitely Ethereum and Ethereum alts. So Ethereum DeFi is my favorite bet right now, and I've been trading those tokens. Uniswap, Aave, Lido have all been doing very well. And in my opinion, they have a long way to run. And I think as ETH continues to trade well, those are going to see big pumps, in my opinion. Not financial advice. You'll lose all your money if you listen to me. But that's one narrative. Another narrative is the evolution of the AI agent narrative in crypto, and we have some opinions on this that we're going to talk about. So that's another thing we can get into. And third is Hyperliquid. So if you're not aware, Hyperliquid had a massive airdrop to traders on their perpetual futures decks, and the airdrop was huge. Average sizes of the airdrop in USD terms ended up being hundreds of thousands of dollars. And these people are very wealthy now, obviously, and there's talks about why Hyperliquid might be a competitor as an L1 to Solana, to Chain, Monad, and I kind of want to dive into the competitive dynamics there.
That sounds great. I want to hear more about Hyperliquid because it's an L1, but isn't fully built out yet, that you can only get through Arbitrum right now. Currently. All right. And we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. I think we still start with ETH. So maybe pull up the ETH chart here if we can. Just refresh it.
Just refresh it. Okay.
Just hit on the menu bar. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. But ETH has seen large inflows from the ETFs, indicating broader institutional interest. And this, along with a few other factors, just ETH's typical performance later in crypto bull cycles after Bitcoin has had its run, is leading people to expect ETH is about to break out into price discovery here. Because if you even look from a TA level at very large time frames, I'll pull it up. So basically what happens if you do like a little TA pattern.
Cup and handle, baby.
Yeah, cup and handle right here, which is a bullish TA pattern. This is on monthly candle time frame. So that's good news. And then it's also a descending triangle. So if you basically draw a line from here to here, We just broke out of that top line right here. And if you do like the projections, that implies that he's going to be trading around $7,000 relatively soon. And mixed with other bullish fundamental signals, people are really excited. So that's why ETH's been pumping, and I think this continues.
Yeah, we've not. I mean, this much green. It usually is bloody red when we do our shows. This much green is incredible to see. It's fun to see because, as you guys have probably surmised, we have a large bags in ETH more so than in Bitcoin. But it's all everything's green. Everything's good now. Got to keep going. The thing, man, that I saw that's crazy to me is the amount of money flowing into the ETH ETFs now.
Yeah.
It went from 0 to 100 in a week.
Well, BlackRock had $190 million inflow days for ETH, just for theirs.
Yeah.
And the weekly flows were massive and even outpacing Bitcoin on some days, which is crazy. So I think if you see the capital rotation on Wall Street from the institutions from Bitcoin saying, hey, this crypto thing's here to stay, they're increasingly learning that Ethereum is more of a tech platform that things are building on that actually the President of the United States is building an application on.
Yeah.
They're going to see that as more of a safe bet. And they're going to be like, this has a lot more potential. And I think the analysts on Wall Street are going to understand that. And you see this capital rotation happen because the ETFs are right there, right next to the Bitcoin ETFs. They can do it in their world. They don't have to go anywhere. And that's a huge boon.
Yep.
And I think all the stars are aligning for Ethereum recently.
Yeah, like the institutional side, I don't want to say there's regulatory clarity yet, but I think everyone's pretty confident the federal government will not rug every Ethereum and L2 and token user anymore. It's not going to happen.
They're rugging the president.
Right.
And also, David Sachs was just nominated as, or I guess chosen by President Trump as the AI and crypto czar. And he's very well known. He has this huge podcast, #1 technology podcast in America. I was telling you, I listen to it. And so I understand his positions on crypto well. Very pro crypto, very free market. And I think we're going to get clarity and also just it's going to allow us to innovate and do interesting things. So it's all around good.
So let me ask you about the Sachs guy.
Yeah.
So throw the political side out because it largely, I don't think it matters here.
Yeah.
First question is he informed and understands crypto?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
He does. They've been investors in Bitcoin since 2016, maybe. Talked about it for a while. They're a bit on the normie side, so they're a good reflection of a very smart tech person who's not a crypto person.
Yes.
So it gives you like a little bit of a sense of how normal tech people are thinking about crypto. And currently, just from hearing them talk, it's very bullish, and they're starting to think that it's legitimate again, which is funny. It's just after the FTX thing, it kind of rocked the whole VC world. And down. But yeah.
Okay. I think I like that background, honestly. Yeah. I think I like that. The second thing I'm going to ask, and this is going to be a boomer type question, even though I'm not a boomer, is it's got to be more than just free for all. Mm-hmm. So do you think that Sachs will go as far as proposing some regulations about maybe not regulations, but who will regulate this?
Yeah, I don't know how his responsibilities are delineated, to be honest.
Yeah.
I haven't.
It's not a cabinet position, so he just recommends.
Yeah, he's the crypto and AI czar. Yeah. They've made up the title, and so he recommends. So I'm not sure, but Paul Atkins, have you heard that name? He was recently chosen as
the Fed guy.
Yeah, no, not the Fed. He was chosen as something. I forget. I don't think the SEC commissioner or the next one, or maybe he's the front runner. It's one of those. But he is like a rules guy, but a free market rules guy. He's really going to be the main driver there.
So, excuse me.
And again, I don't like talking about like regulation politics because this is probably where I'm most uninformed. So don't listen to it. Like if you're asking me about the trenches, about the markets, I'm good with that. But this other stuff, I'm more speculating, and I roughly know what I'm talking about.
All right, so we'll move on. We'll move on quickly on that. But what I want to say is, I believe now that it seems like at the highest level, those people could institutionalize. That may be a bad word in this times, but they could put in a set of positive regulatory framework that both keeps existing crypto companies and people here and encourages others to come here to use the U.S. as a domicile for their operations. And we're seeing this entrenches U.S. treasuries and the U.S. dollar as the default currency backing many of these stablecoins. And I think some regulation and clarity on that is important. It seems like these guys could do it.
Yeah, I mean, there was already a stablecoin bill circulating in Congress this past few years,
Yeah.
but this just makes the likelihood that it's going to be a reasonable framework that's also loose enough for innovation, but it gives us rules. I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's overall good. And basically, the TLDR on Washington at this point is that it's like everything else. It's extremely bullish. And it's funny because we traded up on the news that Trump got into the White House and these people around him are very pro crypto, but we haven't even seen the impact of actual clear regulation yet. It's been a month.
Right.
So we haven't seen any new frameworks implemented. We are still getting crypto companies attacked by the current administration, the SEC. So there's a long way off, and these catalysts are just going to be progressive over the next 4 years.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So, what do you want to go into?
So before we move on to that, something I thought about. I think in general, I was very gullible and believed a lot of what I was told. But something that I'm not believing at all now is Operation Choke Point 2.0 and Silvergate was complete bullshit and a political sting operation. And I think we're going to hear more and more about that. And the truth is going to, another version of truth is going to come out. And it seems like it could be a pretty big stain, another stain on some of these high-ranking politicians.
Yeah.
For reasons I still don't get. And it's Elizabeth Warren is who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't understand why she would be so anti-crypto and want all this, but it seems like all these fingers are going to point back to her. It's going to take one smoking gun, one email, and not a voice conversation. It's going to have huge ripple effects potentially. Yeah,
well, you had Mark Andreessen go on, you probably didn't see this, but on the Joe Rogan podcast, biggest podcast in America, talking about how his crypto founders and AI founders were to banks for no reason. Literally, their personal bank accounts were taken closed, and they had to withdraw cash. Cash. Yes.
Dollar bill, $100.
Yes, and they couldn't get banks for a period of time.
That's
crazy. That was all targeted, not to mention Silvergate and stuff and others. So I think it is very, very egregious, and we'll see that come out. So yeah, on that, all good.
All good. Well, that'll be it. We can talk about that in another show.
Yeah. The next thing, let's just hit on Ethereum DeFi real quick. So I gave you the bull case for Ethereum. I think it does outperform here for a while for the reasons we mentioned. And then as a natural extension of that, you get Ethereum related alts to run. And they've already started happening. Like you've seen Lido doubled it within a couple weeks. You've seen Aave and Uniswap do the same thing. You've seen Op do the same thing. The base related tokens you like Arrow are doing similar things. I think that's both Ethereum related and because they're on base, and base is getting a lot of attention for AI reasons. But I think these continue to rip. And if you just if you like fundamentals and you expect traditional investors to become even more interested in crypto as the next couple of years go on, I think Ethereum-based DeFi is some of the most undervalued investments. So as a trade over the short term, I think they do well. But over the medium term, other things outperform it. Yes, but if you're an investor, I would like to hold Ethereum DeFi. I would actually rather hold Ethereum DeFi coins for the next 3 years. I just have to go to sleep and not touch them than alt L1s, really anything else.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm very, very bullish there.
So let's talk about a few of those. Two of those that are easy to talk about. So Uniswap, one coin that's ripping right now, and that's all. And we can talk about tokenomics later, but the reason it's ripping is because they think they're going to turn the fee switch on because they won't get sued by the U.S. government.
Exactly.
That's number one.
And Unichain too.
Yes.
Unichain, I think that's going to improve their economics and revenue model and all that.
Lido, second one, very easy. We're going to have ETFs or some investment asset that enables Ethereum staking, which is the internet zero risk bond, right?
Which is great branding. Huge. Great branding.
Yeah. I talked about this last time. Lido has 33 billion of TVL.
It's the biggest DeFi protocol by not an order of magnitude, but double the next closest.
Wow.
Double.
That's crazy.
It's massive. So, and their margin on that TVL is probably lower than some other protocols, but it's so massive, and they have all these tailwinds. So, I'll give you guys some alpha. I was reading. I don't know if I mentioned this on a previous show, but I was reading the government. I didn't mention it. This is why I bought Lido recently, and it started to outperform for the ETH reasons, all these tailwinds. But on the government stocks, they just posted on the governance forum. They posted their plan for 2025. And basically, there's two things. So number one overarching goal for the next year is to better align the Lido token with the success of the protocol. And there's allusions to the fee switch. If you turn the fee switch on to that, tying the yield from all the STE in circulation to the Lido token, even if it's a tiny amount, there's so much of it, that's a massive boon. And Lido historically has been very disconnected as a token from the protocol, and fixing that would be huge. Second strategic focus is on getting into this institutional staking area. Those are their two stated goals. So if we get these staking ETFs, which look increasingly likely, and they succeed in their business development efforts on that front, and then they tie the Lido token to those efforts, I'm just very bullish. And not to mention, it's very undervalued as a token. It's around 1 billion FTV. You have memes like you have Pepe trading at 8 to 10x the FTV as, and you can argue about whether you like that or not. It's just the current market. But my point is, there's so much room to grow, and I think it just gets me excited about Ethereum DeFi, about Lido specifically, and I'm looking forward to seeing if this thesis plays out.
Yeah. So I would say if you're gonna come up with, let's throw out Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, the L1s. If you're gonna come up with name the five or 10 DeFi blue chips, you got to include Uniswap.
Yeah.
You got to include, and it's not really DeFi, but you got to include Lido.
Yeah.
Probably you got to include the biggest bank in the world, Aave.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Maker now, biggest stablecoin, and USDT, USDC, whatever.
Yeah.
But those are 7 blue chip, or maybe we call them orange chip, or whatever tokens to hold in this market where we now have some clarity on what won't happen.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. And just, again, the stars are aligning for Ethereum Eco finally, and not financial advisors, but that's what I'm doing. And I've been bullish on, it's funny, because I'll say I've been bullish on these tokens for a while, and in crypto, that means like the last month.
Right.
3 weeks to a month. You already see the outperformance. Like
I do. It's crazy.
They returned over 100% in that time period. So I think it continues for all these reasons. Yeah. So Ethereum DeFi, bullish. We'll see if that pans out. And
good. All right. Well, I think that was that's one of our, I like that segment. Yeah. That's a good segment. It's like hits home a little bit.
Yeah. Fundamental guys, utility coin enthusiasts. Yeah.
Is that what we're calling these stocks that pay dividends, utility coins?
Yeah.
Not stocks.
Yeah, no, but that's historically a name for them. Because that actually have utility, basically.
Instead of that have no utility?
Well, a lot of them don't still. Like a governance token, like, does that really utility? Like, I would argue not really. Like, most people don't know. Like, the engagement rates are terrible on DAOs. That's why we've seen, like, decline there. But.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
AI? Let's go AI.
So, hot take here. I tweeted this. Maybe I tweeted this on my burner, but I don't really see the longer term thesis for these AI agent tokens. So what's happening is these projects like Virtuals on Base, AI16Z on Solana have been getting a lot of attention. The agents are super cool. So they're launching agents, giving them crypto wallets, giving them Twitter accounts. They ship post and buy tokens, and a few of them are interesting, like AIXBT, which was launched through Virtuals, was trained and has access to a bunch of crypto data sets, crypto research data sets, crypto research takes. So it actually gives you opinions on the current market based on on-chain metrics and its opinion. So that's kind of interesting. But I just failed to see why I want to buy and hold these tokens outside of a short-term trade. Because a lot of them, some of them have some limited forms of utility. Like, for example, you can, if you have enough tokens, you can enter a chat box window and talk directly to the AI instead of on social media. Some in the future, they're saying this is a Cerebro bot, which was a culture type of AI launched using AI16Z's framework. It makes music on Apple Music, and they're saying in the future, like, you might have to have this token to get access to its content, to whatever it is. That just doesn't make that much sense to me. I don't understand how that has staying power and why you want to own these tokens to have a share in this AI agent that is not directly working on your behalf to maximize your portfolio or trade it for you. So I think the real next leg of the AI trade is going to be AI times DeFi. Mm-hmm. Any application where your AI agents can really help you out in DeFi. And I think we're going to see some new interesting mechanisms where maybe these AI agents don't directly serve you, but they're doing something interesting within a DeFi protocol. So you probably see that, and then you also see AI agents working for you to optimize your yields and things like that.
Yeah. So for me, I basically took your take and made it my take on the
That's
Grand
fine.
Chanto
That's fine.
tweet.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was thinking about this morning that okay, I can see these current use of agents like virtuals as kind of the equivalent of Dungeons and Dragons and that type of game, online games where you buy. I get that, all right, and that's not me though. That's not what I want.
You're not even playing a game though.
I know.
They're just shit posting.
Well, I think I read something this morning where now you might be able to use tokens to pick your mate, your AI mate, and they'll mate.
That's just okay. If it's game, that's kind of funny. If it's a game, then
I don't know what
that's a gaming token.
it's agent porno or something.
That's okay.
Right. Anyway, back to the topic here. I've said this forever. I want an agent that will work on my behalf to do all the dumb shit that I have to do every freaking morning to see where my stuff is at. Why can't I beg someone make an agent or let me make an agent that does not include a terminal that lets me click shit to tell me whenever my portfolio reaches bounds, whenever I might want to look at changing something based on my past history or what I've said my goals are.
Well, you can probably set that up with a bot, not an agent.
That's fine.
Yeah, but the agent thing is like it needs to do on-chain activities for you, basically.
Okay.
That's what an agent is as opposed to a bot. Like I can build that bot for you right now. If you want right. Notifications whenever your portfolio hits a limit, I'll build you the bot.
Well, okay. I want to be able to do that without writing code.
That's I guess, but someone else can write you the code.
And second thing, I am 100% with you. You know what? I get community. I love community. I love teams. I get that. But the bottom line that everyone needs to understand, it's about making money, right? The community's great. This virtual's all great. Clap, clap, clap. But how do you make me money? And that's what I want my real DeFi agent to do.
Well, right now it's just PvP. It's speculation on the AI tokens. That's how people are making money. My point is like there's no real product there yet, and people are arguing this. I've heard this argument.
All right, let's hear it.
These AI agents are going to act as independent market participants, and they're going to offer certain products and services as an AI agent. So you like go to the agent, you get some product or service from it on the blockchain. I don't know what this would be.
Can I get a DeFi service?
Maybe, but then why wouldn't that be directly your agent? Like, why would it be its own independent thing? This is what people are saying. It's going to act on its own volition, and you go to it like an independent market participant, maybe to like lend you, do an OTC token deal or something like that, and then you pay it, and it acts as its own entity. I don't understand why that would be the case. Why there will be these agents running around doing that, I'm sure, but why is that the primary use case? Why would I buy that agent's token as opposed to infrastructure project or something else that is building agents where you can have your own army of agents doing things directly for you?
I agree. I want to do it directly for me. And I mean, full circle, little plug here, but sort of what I talked with the oldest guys about was exactly this infrastructure for personalized groups of agents.
Yeah.
And, you know, on the other thing, I think this is a real good use of AI and agents. Interview next week, the Giza guys who actually have an agent that automatically moves your money around to maximize yield, which it's simple now. It's just USDT and USDC. Yeah. But that's the beginning of what I want in the long term.
Yeah. Okay. That's very cool. Or it's even like, that is the starting point for where like you have that agent. Let's say you have like I bet it'll be architected like this. You have a portfolio manager agent, which has your broad financial goals and strategy in mind. And then it has a cash reserves stablecoin sub portfolio manager, analyst, whatever you want to call it, who is managing that cash position, optimizing yield between different DeFi protocols. And then whenever this agent tells that one that there's an opportunity in the market that you told it to look for and matches certain criteria or like investment sectors that you liked, it can automatically place that trade for you, withdraw cash from that agent, allocate it to this other guy who's optimizing this sort of trade. And that's how it's going to be. And that makes sense to me, not these other independent agents.
So I like that, except I want to be able to read on my phone, hey, Agent Johnny says this trade should be done. Swipe right.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. Yeah, that's a good addition. Honestly, make that clear that they just aren't running around with your money. Like you have to approve it, but that's easy to do. In that setup, basically, you would have and I think smart contract wallets and account abstraction really will make that possible. But you just have your overarching key where you have to sign off on anything that the top agent does. But from there, they have keys to other wallets that are like subdirectories of your main account. And then they can control their accounts, but there's a limit to what they can do in each account. You have to approve any transactions from the top first. And that makes a lot of sense to me. So I think we see that. And then we see some new interesting DeFi protocols that somehow have AI agents embedded in them. I think we see that. I don't know what that looks like yet.
Well, all right. Now, after we're talking about this, I'm thinking about Codex, and I'll just shout out to Beavis and crew. Keep working on Codex for me, and not the big Tony Walrus guy, because I think Codex for me is more important than Big Tony the Walrus. Love you, Big Tony the Walrus, but you're not exactly my cup of tea.
Yeah, I just think it's fat. It was a good trade, and I missed the trade. Like I could have made money if I went heavier on the AI agent trade, but it just never made sense to me from the beginning. Like why these things are interesting investments. Like if you're trading, sure, go trade them. You make money. I'm not saying that, but yeah. So I think we see the next leg of AI times crypto be AI times DeFi and these agents working for you, and also DeFi AI protocols. So that's my prediction. We'll see if it's correct.
Yeah. Well, if we're going to talk about this, we have to bring up Mode.
Yeah.
And we do this every week. I get it. We're not, they don't pay us anything. We're just legit investors there.
For a while now, and we just loved the project and everything they were doing.
Beginning in January, you said you got to get in on Mode.
Because I love the team, great guys, and they're professionals. They're doing it right, and they had all the key pieces. And now we're just seeing it actually play out in the market price. And yeah, right now we're at. Let's see what we did here. So this is monthly candles still, I believe. Started around 0.01. It's about 5x in that time in just a couple months. So we had a 211% monthly candle here, and we're sitting at about 50% monthly candle 7 days into the month here.
And the key here, and I'm going to, this is no inside information. I'm just going to speculate a little bit. I think Mode went into it to be the DeFi network, and kind of halfway through, it's like, oh shit, maybe this isn't where we want to go, and made this pivot, and seemingly just pushed all the chips in the middle. On two, not one, two. The thing that's not getting talked about is the VE tokenomics in season 3.
I love that from the beginning.
And they're still building that out. And we've talked to them. We need to get some things built there to make it a little smoother. It's sort of like old news. And the new news is this push into AI. And I don't think a whole lot of AI technology has rolled out yet. But the friendliness, the marketplace, the vibe they're doing is great. And I guess teaming up with BitTensor, is that how I say it?
Yeah, BitTensor.
BitTensor to have BitTensor subnet that is dedicated to providing timely and accurate information to Mode agents.
Yeah, price forecast and return forecast for tokens. So it's trying to optimize all these different participants in the subnet to have the most accurate price forecast. And you can look in how BitTensor works, but basically they'll feed that information back into the AI agents on Mode.
Okay. So BitTensor is obviously the 10,000-pound gorilla in that space. I've actually heard of them. Allura is doing a similar thing. All right. And we talked a little bit about this, and I understand this better, the BitTensor framework, but we're starting to be able to build a moat. So capital doesn't just leave when the next great agent comes. With things like BitTensor, that's a moat you're building that's only available on Mode Network. We talked about this as well. There's going to be AI-enabled sequencer, like security or fees and stuff like that. I don't know what that is yet. They're building that, but that's another moat that lets agents tap into, I assume, revenue. Which is important.
100%. And they, everything they're doing is good. And I really have not seen another team execute this well from a positioning perspective and doing all the right things. And of course, the token going up is great. I want it to keep going up. I think it is probably a good investment still, not financial advice. But I just like what they're doing as a project. I think it's good for crypto, how they're innovating, what they're looking at in terms of this crypto AI stuff, their partnerships they're doing with BitTensor. And it's also type of project that they don't have all these VCs. It was funded through a grant.
I think it was through an op grant.
An op grant. That's it. I did check, and that's it. And all these no VCs dumping on everyone, and it's just a very good project. So I'm interested to see what they do and how it plays out. And the last thing to note is I think the BitTensor subnet is super important because accurate price forecasts are really important for AI agents to have if they're doing the kind of portfolio optimization thing that we want them to do. How are they going to understand? How are they going to decide whether a coin is the best investment from the sector that you deemed as something you want to be invested in. You know,
Mm-hmm.
LMs can't really do that very well, and they need that quantitative price forecast. And if you have these other machine learning models doing that and fed into the agents, that's a key piece.
So my mental model, if an oracle is to current price feed, is BitTensor to future price projection? Is that a kind of analogy?
Not so. BitTensor is more generalized. BitTensor
Okay.
is essentially an L1, although not as you traditionally think it's an L1 blockchain. But each subnet is optimized for a different purpose, an AI related model or task, and that's what it's trying to solve. And it basically incentivizes the participants within that subnet to optimize for that task.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that subnet, that would be a correct characterization.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will the agents, and I assume they'll have to pay something to get the data. Yeah. They'll pay more for better data. They'll pay less. Or BitTensor will basically optimize for best data.
Yeah.
And I assume that part of that goes to BitTensor. It should, and part of it goes to Mode.
Yeah. Well, they mentioned also that Mode will be involved in that mechanism between BitTensor and the AI agents getting those forecasts somehow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Mode's involved in that. The AI L2, the sequencer, AI enabled sequencer hasn't even been launched yet, and Mode will likely be involved in that, and the VE33. So it's all these structural sources of demand for the Mode token, which is great, and it's still undervalued as an L2 and as an AI project. Yeah. So it's not financial advice, but
it's take a look at it.
Take a look at it. Just look at it, see if you like it. Yeah, join the Discord. It's just a good place to be, interesting tech, good people.
All right, well, there's that. That's good. So
last thing.
Hyperliquid?
Yeah.
Last thing. You got to talk about this.
So, yeah, Hyperliquid, very sad. I missed out on the airdrop because I don't know if I was just too late or if because I forgot to click agree to terms. If I did just forget that, Jeff, please fix it and give me money. Luckily, there are a few power traders who would have made a couple $1 million, and they forgot to click agree to terms. So there's people who were top 100 Hyperliquid users by volume over the last year, and they forgot to click it, and literally their allocation would have been millions of dollars, and they missed it. Mine would have been substantial, but not like, I don't know what I'd be doing. And that's.
Could you buy breakfast this morning with your allocation?
Yeah.
Okay.
But basically, if you're not aware, Hyperliquid is Perp Dex, and they're also building an L1 early stages, but that should launch in full shortly, and they're going to get projects on there. But they just airdropped millions of dollars to users, and people made a bunch of money, and it's probably the best on-chain crypto product that I've ever used by a wide margin in terms of speed, user experience, understanding of what crypto users want. It feels native to the blockchain and like a good user experience at the same time, which is pretty rare actually. And everyone on the chain just got rich. So people are saying, and the token's ripping.
Wait, and before you go on, you told me earlier, no VCs.
Yeah, no VCs. I'm pretty sure completely bootstrapped. No money even raised.
Wow.
Yeah. So people are talking once this L1 fully launches and they get projects building on it, there's no reason why this doesn't have the opportunity to be the L1 trade of the cycle, and no reason why it doesn't have the potential to overtake projects like Solana, because you're really operating in the same competitive space. And I just don't see where the competitive advantage is for Solana. And they have this ecosystem built up, and there are projects that exist. They have a very mature DeFi ecosystem, and that's where their advantage is. But a longer term competitive advantage, I don't see how Hyperliquid doesn't have the opportunity to make a run there for that market share. For it's fast, it's cheap, it has a trading culture. There's liquidity on
product
there now.
Market fit.
Exactly. And if they keep building out products at the quality of Hyperliquid Perp Dex, it's going to be hard not to use it. And I think another underrated fact is that currently you can get to the Dex, the Perp Dex, through an EVM bridge. You bridge through Arbitrum. There's a lot of liquidity on Ethereum that can easily move over there. So I'm just very bullish on it, and I think there's a lot of potential. So that's a trade to keep your eye on.
So Hyperliquid is like a financial professionals, or more than me, like more than just the average DGen guy doing looping trades. It's for more of a professional, or no?
What do you mean by professional? It's a perp deck. So if you trade perps, which is like you're a legit trader, then if you're trading,
that's what I mean.
If you're trading perpetual futures, there's a lot of people in crypto who don't trade perps because they're hard to trade. Right. So but it is for very, I wouldn't say professional, because it is for crypto natives. Like people trading perps are definitely crypto native, and they're definitely degens also, but it's definitely distinct from so far from like on-chain DeFi users.
Yeah.
It
So
really is like taking a run at its user experience is up to par with trading perps on centralized exchanges. So if you're a legit trader, you can use the crypto product on chain and have just as good of an experience as using a centralized exchange.
So on that note, though, now that your perps are over, so I'm not giving away anything. Tell everybody though what you did to make sure you didn't get liquidated. Tell your process, what you had, how like basically physical and emotional toll it took to monitor the positions.
Yeah, well, it's very difficult. So trading perps is extremely, extremely hard. It's mentally straining because you're always thinking about if you have an open position and the market turns. Crypto's so volatile, you can lose thousands of dollars. But basically, you want to talk about my trading methodology?
No, I would just like emotional how you felt in that.
Oh, I felt terrible.
Yeah.
I made a good amount of money, but I felt terrible, and it's hard to trade those. And that's like why you get the crypto Twitter anon posting pictures of the disheveled Wojak, the guy who's just his eyes are all bloodshot, his hair is crazy. That's what it feels like to trade perps, and yeah, it really is like a big casino in some sense because with leverage. So it's a lot, but and if you look at the numbers through Hyperliquid or other perp dexes, all the traders lose money on net. So your average trader is not making money.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's because it's dummies like me that go in and don't know what they're doing and click the wrong buttons.
Yeah, but then if you're good, you can make so much money really, really quickly. Right. So I don't know. I would recommend using the product even if you're not a perp trader though, just to feel how it works and see. You'll be mind blown by how good it is for a crypto product.
Wow.
And last thing here, I switched over from MetaMask to Aave recently. I was in MetaMask hell for the longest time. I don't know why I was still using it. It was awful. It was terrible. Aave's amazing. And this just goes to show crypto products are getting better and better and better. And I think we're like on the cusp of turning the corner and actually offering products that normal people could use. Like it's yet to be seen if there's product market fit and they want to use it, but the UX will be there. Finally. And it's the first time I really think that's true.
All right, so we're going to wrap up real quick, but I'm going to throw a couple things out there we talked about yesterday. We talked about the MetaMask comment, made me think of this, consensus.
Yeah.
Consensus a year ago was the 1,000-pound gorilla, had a ton of money, and basically MetaMask is sort of flopping because there's nothing new. Linnea, who you were fighting from the beginning, is going nowhere fast.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. We'll talk about that some other time. The next thing I want to talk about, I don't know why this popped in my head. And Bitwise guys, if you're out there, we've sort of had this affinity for you guys, even though we're sort of native by the ETH. We don't own ETFs. Would love to have those guys on here and talk about their perspective on the markets as
the institutional side.
Yeah, actually, I mean, they're actually professional.
Yeah.
They're not. They're like doing this to make a living to feed their families. And that would be cool to have them on there. So, guys, we're going to watch this. We're going to reach out to you. I love some of the stuff you've written. I think Mr. Park, I forgot his first name, but he has a great treatise on the next way to invest your 60-40 portfolio. Love to have you guys on here to talk about that and get your take on everything we're seeing as just the average Joe on the street.
Yeah, because we don't have these. I don't talk to people in TradFi. I'm very much in the crypto trenches. I'm plugged into the narratives on crypto Twitter. I can make those trades, but my whole view on institutional market demand for the ETFs, for crypto in general, is just based on what I see on Twitter, and that's probably not accurate. It's just based on flows and some rudimentary data, so I have an idea. But they're really talking to investors and to traditional financiers every single day. So they have their finger on the pulse and know what's up. So everything he said, we'd love to talk to you guys. That would be great.
It would be like legit alpha, like real alpha we could get.
Yeah.
Wow.
Real alpha from the institutional side. I keep coming for the on-chain alpha. I got you.
Okay. All right. Sounds
good.
But
the institutional alpha, I have no idea.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Well, you know what? We actually do need to go get breakfast.
Yeah.
We're going to go look at apartments.
Yeah.
As we endeavor to bring the center of the crypto universe from New York City.
Yeah. Bring it to Charlotte.
To the Queen City. To the Queen City. You heard it here first. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Well, that was freaking. Was that the one I clicked?